So let me begin by showing you things that God never intervened for. Before we go into the kind of intervention I want to show to you. Things that God will never intervene to help you out. Number one, when you invest your money in anything that has to do with Babylon, when you put in your resources in anything that has to do with Babylon, anything connected to Babylon. What is Babylon? Babylon is a Bible word for the evil and corrupt system of this world, which is ruled by pride, ruled by lust. Are you understanding me? The word Babylon is from the word Babel. Babel means the gates of the gods. Which gods? Devils, of course. Portals of evil. So Babylon controls the wealth of this world. Babylon controls the prosperity of the wicked. The investment systems that have to do with softwares are Babylon induced. The softwares are manipulated by people across the globe to determine who gets rich and who gets poor. So when you invest into such things, you have put your financial destiny in the hand of a man. That is why a lifesaver must not be greedy. The Bible says greed takes the life of the owner. Is that not? That means greed is a suicide catalyst. So me, greed is a suicide catalyst. If you want to commit suicide, just become greedy. You will do something that will take away, that will make you to take away your life. So we don't invest in things that are connected to Babylon. That is why no matter how beautiful the investment opportunity look, check the root. Because it is the root that determines the fruit. Check the root. How did this start? Who are the people in charge? Check the head. Who are the guys in charge of this establishment that are calling for my investment? The fact that the team makes the other person rich does not mean to make you rich. And also understand, even if it makes you rich, that money will develop worms, because it's not the prosperity of the righteous. Even if that is the only investment opportunity on earth, a Christian should not put his money in cigarette smoking companies or alcohol producing companies. You don't buy shares in those places as a child of God. I know preachers today preach upside down. Somebody was even asking me, severally they have asked me, oh, is it good for me to work in a bar? Don't wait. The person cannot pay rent. The person have not eaten. He's struggling and he's praying that God should give her a job. And the first thing that happened, come and be a manager in a bar. And you go there, they say you're a Christian, you don't drink, you don't smoke. We're going to respect that. We're not going to give you alcohol, we'll not give you cigarette. In fact, we even want you to be here so that you will not steal it and drink. Since you don't drink it, you will not steal it. Because if you employ a manager who drink, he's going to finish all the gallons. So they will not call you. And if you are not wise, you will think that God has sent you to impact lives in that place. And if the guy is technical, he will say, that's why you say you're a Christian, that's why we need you here. So that when you come, when people drink and they come under the stupor of alcohol, in case somebody is about jumping, you can pray for the person. When you go to such a place, no matter the demon that move against you, God will not intervene. Because God have appointed places for divine intervention. Being in that place is not one of it. Listen carefully. Any investment that has to do, that have Babylon touch, don't put your money there. Because when trouble arises, God will not intervene. You have to be left alone. You have to use, listen, That's why you see certain Christians, when trouble emerge from these things, look at what they do. They engage the arm of flesh. They engage even the demonic. They engage lies. They engage deceit. They begin to tell things that are not true, because they know that if they speak the truth, they'll be caught. So they begin to behave like the children of Satan to come out of the crisis, because God is not intervening. It is when God don't intervene that you want to intervene. And one way you intervene is by lying. But if there is the divine intervention, the principle is be still and know that I am God. Any financial crisis that is Babylon induced, forget about divine intervention. Are you understand what I'm saying? And no matter how you pray, God will not move, because there's Babylon in it. God will have to tell you, come out of Babylon. Do not touch what is unclean. Is somebody hearing me? Come out of that. Is it? So God does not intervene in things that are rooted in Babylon. Why? Open your Bible to the book of Zechariah chapter 5. Before we begin to pray for divine intervention, let's understand things that God will never intervene in. Someone will say, but God can do all things. No, I don't believe that God can do all things. It depends on the all things. It depends on the category of all things. Are you understanding me? Which category of all things are you talking about? God cannot take Lucifer to heaven. He cannot empty hell and say all the demons are now angels. So God cannot do all things. It depends on the things. He can break the backbone of Pharaoh, but he cannot make Pharaoh a prophet. Are you understanding me? He can part the Red Sea for Israel to pass, but he cannot part the Red Sea for them to return. Are you understanding what I'm saying here? So be careful when you say God can do all things. Be very careful. God can do all things within his will. Write it, but God can do all things within his will. So when you say God can do all things, it is half truth. And half truths are dangerous. The full truth is God can do all things within his will. Whatever is not within the will of God, there can be no divine intervention. So those of us that carry the heritage of divine intervention, we should never go close to Babylon, because when we go close to it, we lose our heritage. You come into things that you pray and cry and God will not show up. Then you begin to engage the spirit of wickedness, because anything that has Babylon is a habitation of the spirit of wickedness. Are you understanding me? Anything that has Babylon is a habitation of the spirit of what? Of the spirit of wickedness. Look at this, Zechariah chapter 5. The Bible says in verse 6, verse 5, then the angel who talked with me came out and said to me, lift your eyes now and see, what is this that goes forth? So I asked, what is it? And he said, it is a basket that is going forth. He also said, this is their resemblance throughout the earth. There is a lit disc lifted up, and there's a woman sitting inside the basket. Then he said, this is what? Wickedness. God will never prosper wickedness, my friend. So if you are in a Babylonian system, there will be no divine intervention. In fact, you will have to go for demonic intervention, because only the devils intervene here, because it's his territory. Is someone hearing me? That's why I see some Christians, they pray and God did not show up, but they meet Professor Baal and God, and the supernatural show up, and they call it God. They pray, God did not show up, and they meet Professor Baal to perform magic on their head, and the business began to move. They now say, God is here. I preached it many years ago in Abuja. I say, these days, when you depart from God, Satan welcomes you with a party. He gives you money to say welcome. He gives you money. Because when Cain left the presence of God, his lineage became the most prosperous. That's why you must define prosperity. A child of God knows prosperity by definition, not by manifestation. Is someone hearing me? A child of God should know prosperity by what? Definition, not by manifestation. By definition, there's the prosperity of the wicked, there's the prosperity of the righteous, and there's the prosperity of a fool. But by manifestation, they are all the same. You can't tell the difference. Is somebody hearing me? It's all money. So with me, I must know prosperity by definition, not by mass manifestation. The charismatic churches will teach you to follow prosperity by manifestation, but the apostolic teaches you to follow prosperity by definition, not manifestation. Definition. What God says. He said to us, we shall prosper as our soul prospers. So the reason why God will never intervene in any system, Babylonian system, is because it is not his environment. In fact, what God will do to Babylon, he will confuse them. Genesis chapter 11. He will create confusion. Because anything in Babylon's system, it prospers to hinder divine will. Everything in Babylon's system, it prospers to do what? To hinder divine will. Can you imagine how for the first time in my life a woman met me to give me 10 million to invest, and it will have worked? In fact, what motivated her the more, apart from what happened when they read my books in their church, what motivated her was when I showed her the manuscript. I showed the manuscript of the book I've written for that business to the lady who introduced the business to her. So the lady now mentioned me to her. Sorry, we were all in the same class, so she got my book. But the lady who brought her to the class, I wrote that book, and I told her that we can publish this book and sell it among all the people, because it was eye-catching. I simplified the formulas. I simplified everything that was complicated, that they couldn't teach to the people. I simplified it, and that book would have sold the whole Nigeria. Because they look at the content, they say, wow, and we were strategizing on how we will sell. So the reason why the woman invested the 10 million, so that we can also publish that book, and the agreement was that me and her will share the profit. So is that not prosperity? It is prosperity by manifestation. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So the devil will prosper some of us to oppose God's will for our life. Do you hear what I just said? The devil will prosper some of us to do what? To oppose God's will for our lives. So anything that is trapped in a Babylonian system, the prosperity of that thing hinders the will of God. Can you imagine for a moment what forests have done to preachers? What multi-level have done to them? Because these days it's easy to preach, to go to the internet and carry anything and sound. But check, is the preaching producing Christ in people? May we begin to follow prosperity by definition, not by manifestation. Because we are lifesavers. We need the money, but we don't need the money in our own terms and in our own way. One of the mistakes you ever do as a Christian is having a burden for the kingdom and looking for money for the burden of the kingdom. You don't look for money, you wait for it. Where do you wait? You wait in the place of doing what God asks you to do. We don't look for it because it's not lost. We wait for it. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. How do you wait? You wait doing what the Lord asks you to do. Putting all your energy in your business. You don't employ anybody who is not a transmitter of God's power, no matter how gifted they are. Waiting, making sure there's a presence of God in that environment, because God's presence is what prospers our pocket. Is somebody hearing me? He multiplies our money. So God's presence is what multiplies my money. So you don't put yourself in a system that will never bring divine intervention. They never